So the top is pretty much at a square. The bottom is square, but the distance between the panels is shorter on top. Actually, I pre-drilled all the holes first on the tin. And then what I did is I lined up the holes to try to divide the shorter spacing between all of them. The top panels are tight against each other, so I had to force them, bring them closer together, and there's a little buckling like this here because of that situation, but it turned out pretty good. Definitely better than tarps. And my neighbor's goats really love this area here. Yes? Can I help you? It's gonna be some nice green grass once it comes out. Last time we ran the Pelton Runner with the MidNite Classic, and we were able to get very close to our full power out of that system. It gave us about 6 watts less running it through the MidNite Classic over running it with a 48 volt system. And that gave us the option to be able to run any battery configuration and not worry about the voltage. Now we're going to try this 32 Spoon Turgo to see if we're able to get the same 265 watts we got out of 36 volts at 12 and 24. And we'll also try at 36 to see if we are actually losing some efficiency running through this over running the unit directly hooked up to the batteries. So I got the water on right now. We're running the 70 psi, which is my static pressure. Put my RPM meter on here just to track RPMs, and we'll turn on our MidNite Classic. I already have it configured for 12 volts. And let's start it up. From what I've seen before, the ideal voltage for this setup is around 48 volts. Right now we're at about 20. So the MidNite Classic is doing this sweep there. It's set up to do a sweep every 3 minutes. So if we go to our menu here, and we go to mode, and we hit the setup, the soft key up here, we can see our settings. So we're set to every 3 minutes do a sweep. 235 watts. According to my gauge here, the one we've been using since day one. This one shows about, just like the EP Ever, about 12% higher than mine does. So mine's the one that's off here. We're running about 236 watts right now. I haven't even played with the water yet. Trying to remember last time what was the best pressure, but we'll try to tweak that and try to find the best one. I'll do that right now. I just got to make sure that when I do my adjustment, since the MPPT is active, I don't have two variables going on. Right now it's steady at 44.3 volts. Doing a sweep right there. This is when we don't want to be adjusting it. Now there's a way to set this to a fixed voltage so it doesn't do that. On the hydro, it's not important to have an MPPT constantly active since it doesn't change. The water is always constant, unlike wind and solar. But once you establish an input voltage setting that gives you the maximum wattage, there's no need to have an MPPT active. Okay, it's doing a sweep right now, so things are going to change. When it does a sweep, it just lowers the voltage and then it brings it back up again, trying to obtain the most it can out of it. It's settled at a different voltage right now. The power is about the same. I have the two nozzles here. This is adjustable nozzle B and nozzle A. I'm going to try nozzle B. With some of the tests I was doing yesterday, it seemed to do better with this one. Alright, we spun things around and hooked it up to the adjustable B blue nozzle. Let's try it out and see what it does. We'll bring it to about 50 and then work our way around that to see if we're able to get a little more power. Yeah, right now it's not at its ideal voltage. I have to wait until it does a sweep. Okay, just started. Searching. Set on at 47.1. Power is a little less than before, but we're still at 50 psi. So we'll tweak it now that it's settled at 47.1. Better, about the same, but we'll wait for another sweep and see if that improves. So this is our results of the second sweep on the B nozzle. This one a little bit better. Even though it's running a little bit better, and it's not doing bad, it's hitting about 254. That's still 10 watts less than we got at 36 volts with this unit, running it directly through the battery. So we are losing about 10 watts of power running it through the Classic versus having the proper setup. I'm going to switch over to a 24 volt battery configuration and see if we can improve on that. All right, we swapped over to 24 volts. In order to be able to change this over to 24, we have to disconnect the battery, hold the left and right, turn it on, and keep holding until the unit boots up. There. Now we can reconfigure it again. Switch over to hydro, hit enter, 24 volt, it recognizes the battery, hit enter again. Then move over, hold it over until it says Classic, hit OK. That's our time, which is correct. We hit enter again and send in data, and it should be all set now once it's done. Okay, data sent. Then we'll hit our status key to go back to the main screen. We will adjust our PSI down to 46, which is the point that we got the best power. It's not looking any better at 24 than it did at 12. Currently we're a little less, but our voltage is not right yet. Okay, it's starting to do a sweep right now. Voltage close to the first sweep that it did on the last one. It's 44.3. Power about the same, maybe slightly better. 254 is what I would call it, so it's basically the same. It made no difference. Using the MPPT charger here, this MidNite Classic, it makes the difference what your battery voltage configuration is, which is a good thing, but we are losing about 10 watts. It's a small percentage, it's a small sacrifice, but when you're dealing with peanuts like we are here, this might not be the best option, especially since this thing is so expensive. The cheapest you can get it right now is about $750, so it's not cheap. And we'll be searching for the most economical way and practical way of setting up your hydrant. I can try changing the pressure, not that it should matter, but I'm going to increase it a little bit, increase the pressure, lower the water flow. No change, it's about the same. Running through another sweep. Let's see if we're able to get a little better with that sweep. We're able to get a couple of watts at least better at 24 over the 12 volt battery configuration. Obviously, the higher the voltage, the more efficient the system is due to the losses through the wires. But here we're not dealing with a lot of amperage. But the difference is quite a bit. I mean, we're looking about half the amperage when we switch over from 12 to 24. 254, 255, it's about the same. And our MPPT voltage now is at 40.7. This B nozzle does give us a little bit more power, probably about 5 watts more. There was no difference right now. I'll switch it over to 36 volts and see if there's any change. And again, I doubt it, just like the other ones. But since 36 volts was the point where it gave us the most power last time, I'm also going to cross-check and disconnect the MPPT charger afterwards and see if we're able to get the same power we got last time. We're at 36 volts and same B nozzle, and we'll open it up to about 48. Let's start it at 50 and see what it does. 42.7 is the MPPT voltage right now. Waiting to do a sweep. Alright, it's doing the sweep right now. Going to sweep at this moment. Got worse. Sometimes I wonder why these units do that. This sweep actually made it worse. It was running about 254. It increased the input voltage to 55, but it made it worse. When it first started off with the lower input voltage on the MPPT, we're running about 254 watts, and right now we're down to 235, so it actually messed it up. While we wait for another sweep, I'll play around with the pressure a little bit, because I'm sure we can probably increase it slightly, but it was better before. After the second sweep, it did a little better. I put it back where it was before, where it was doing pretty good. So it's exactly the same. there's no difference here. So practically the same, 12, 24, and 36. Now I'm going to remove the MidNite Classic to see if we're able to get any more than 255 watts, which is what we're getting with this unit across all three voltage configurations. I'm going to shut it off from the main valve, leave the valve adjusted just like that, and all we're going to do is remove the MidNite Classic. Spin disconnected. I'll plug my battery for my RPM meter. Apply power, 36 volts to it. Battery voltage right now is 38.06. Now I'm going to turn on the main valve and see what kind of power we get out of it. $264.7 watts is what we had last time, and right now we're running at 266, so we are losing some power there going through the charge control. Our pressure is exactly the same here. I didn't change anything. All I did was disconnect the charge controller. I disconnected the MidNite Classic. We're the same configuration, which is the 36 volt battery configuration. And we're actually getting a little more power than we did in the previous months. So what we're doing is running the generator straight to our batteries. It's going through a shunt right here that goes straight to the batteries through here, the same way as it was hooked up with the MidNite Classic. So we do have a loss there, an efficiency loss through the charge controller. So even though the charge controller does a nice job so we can set up any battery configuration, we know we can do a little better. See if we're able to get the same power through a charge controller. Now there is some charge controllers out there that do hook up the generator straight to the batteries the same way, and they regulate charge by diverting the power to another source. In other words, they're not doing it like this one, which actually the batteries are isolated from the generator. This other system's, I think it's MidNite Solar. I forget the one of the brands, which I'll probably try out. And it does hook up the battery straight to the generator. And again, in order to control charge, they actually load and divert the power to a resistor or some other external load to try to keep the charge from going out of control. I'm not too crazy about that as far as having the batteries tied always straight to the generator and kind of try to create a load on the generator so it doesn't overcharge the batteries. I don't know, it just seems a little pretty much what I'm doing right here, which obviously I can't leave it all the time like this because eventually it will cook the batteries. It's 268 what we're getting with this system, and this one was doing about 255, 257. So we're losing about 10 watts going through the MidNite Classic. All right, this concludes this episode. We saw that we actually lost about 10 watts running it through the charge controller, even at 36 volts. We're still able to get more power running it straight from the generator to the batteries. Next time I'll probably be testing dual nozzles and elbows to see how much power loss we have through those water lines. So hope to see you here next time.
Good morning, fellas. You brought your whole family along, didn't you?